Hey guys, so today we are talking about studio supplies on a budget. Not art supplies, but the supplies that we need to make our art. So we talk a lot about art supplies here on the channel. I wanted to talk about the things that are around them that we never talk about, that we never review, that we never showcase. So in a previous video, I showed you guys some of my studio. I showed you guys some of my favorite supplies for making of the art, and we talked about a lot of different options. Today we're going on a field trip. We are going to go to Walmart, Dollar Tree, 5Below. Actually, I think we go to multiple Dollar Trees and multiple 5Belows because I am stubborn, and when I am on a mission, I am on a mission. So if you are looking to start your own art journey, or if you're looking for some affordable options, because some of these things are way cheaper than the official art supply version and they work just as well, make sure you stay tuned, keep an eye out. I will have everything broken up by chapters if you're looking for a specific shop. Now, there are some places I would have liked to hit, like I would have liked to hit Pop Shelf, but we just don't have a Pop Shelf in Louisiana. And the Dollar General / Family Dollars in my area are just not really, they're not really good. They're more just snacks than anything else. Snacks and hunting supplies, and that's about it. So I opted not to hit those. We're also not going to go to like Goodwill, and we're not going to check eBay because those can be so variable, and I just don't have a lot of experience buying my budget studio supplies from those places because they're so variable. I like going to places where I know they will probably have what I'm looking for. That said, some of the stuff shown is seasonal. Some of the footage is older. Now, keep in mind, you can order things from Dollar Tree and 5Below on their websites. Obviously, you can order things from Walmart as well. With Dollar Tree, most of those things have to be bought in bulk, so this could be a great way to supply a classroom or a class with things or make kits. With 5Below, there is no min order, and you can find things on the 5Below website that you can't find at a physical 5Below. When I was doing a lot of 5Below crafts as part of my Crafternoon series, I've ordered from the website pretty frequently because they had a wider variety of stuff. Now, and also, like, we don't hit Daiso. I would love to hit Daiso. We don't have a Daiso, but we are planning on traveling in the future to one of two cities, and both of them have a Daiso, so obviously you guys will see a Daiso video from me when I do that. But hopefully this is helpful, useful, and informative for you guys, and if you guys have any suggestions that I may have missed, you know where to leave them down. To start off our inexpensive studio supplies, we're gonna go to Dollar Tree and Walmart in Luling, Louisiana. So pretty typical small town for both of those. If they have it, there's a good chance yours will have it. So here's one of the first Dollar Tree studio supplies. These sort of little mixing cups can be great for mixing up a small amount of paint or for mixing up a watercolor wash, and they have a little cap on them.
Do you know that these cups are made like this not to contain, like even the smaller ones, are not to contain ketchup? What they're intended is, you see how they're
Crenulated?
Yeah, you're supposed to open
spread them out. Yeah,
so
I've seen that like a little plate.
Like paint, like portions of paint, to use paper cups like this. This is plastic coated, but and then just open it out for little individual dabs of paint.
That's a good idea. And then they also have a cake spatula. This
you
can
could
be
also paint with that.
You could use it like a painting spatula. That's where I was going. And you can also use it to remove your watercolor off your blocks.
These some more spatulas.
Yeah, they have different spatulas. That's honestly $1.25 for that's not a bad deal at all. But like these can be useful for sculpting clay. Mm-hmm. These are kind of like those paint shapers, or you could also use those for sculpting clay. Mm-hmm. And then they have some more of the little plastic reusable containers that can be useful for holding a little bitty amount of paint. Everybody needs a place to put their stuff, and if you're willing to go beyond, they do have some of these. They're a little thinner than the Sterilite containers, but this is the size of container that I use to organize my studio stuff. Basically big enough to hold sketchbooks or the 11x9 pads of paper. So if you have a limited amount of space, this can be a good way to get that organized. Here's something kind of neat. If you're interested in getting into recording, they do have mini ring lights And they also have vertical phone stands with an adjustable cradle, so you can actually raise it up. So if you do like TikTok, it could be useful for that. So this is in the Beyond section. This is all $5 and $3, but I would just advise you avoid that. I did say I wasn't really going to talk about art supplies, so I'm not going to too much, but they do have the mixing cups. Those are hard mixing cups, though, not the little silicone mixing cups. They also have the pre-mix pouring paint, and then they have light tables, little LED light pads. So if you wanted to transfer some art, that could be a really affordable way to do it. So if you're looking for tweezers, you can actually get a 4-pack, and these kind of tweezers are really helpful with like sticker placement, models. Yeah. I really like these kind of little tweezers. If you don't want to get like your fingerprints on something, you can use these to help manipulate those smaller things, or if you have fine motor control issues. And not that you guys need this as a studio supply, but I just think this is neat. Little tiny mirror. And then they also have a variety of X-Acto blades, yeah, as well as a metal square, yeah. So if you make art, you need a place to keep your art and hopefully display your art. So these little, probably $1.25 now, photo albums can be great if you do like mini prints. That can be a good way to display your 4x6 mini prints. And then they also have a bunch of inexpensive frames, and this can be a good way to actually get your art up on your walls. They also have these neat little mini easels, which can be
2 of them. Well, that's 1 of them.
They're stuck together, yeah. They even have the slightly nicer mini photo albums where you can put like.
Oh, and there's even bigger ones too, I guess.
No, those are like.
That's prints.
But you could get that and paint over it if you wanted to. But I do think they have like blank canvases as well.
Well, they used to have blank canvases. Oh, back at laser cut animals.
That's neat. That's like a little hanging wall shelf that you could install to help organize some of your supplies.
And there's some more easels.
Yeah, the plastic ones. I like the metal pre-folded ones though, because they're a little bit sturdier. So they also have small cutting mats that are actually pretty sturdy little things. Yeah, you're not going to just cut through it, which is nice.
Well, they're heavy. They're weighty too, so it's not going to just fly off.
And it's not going to just curl up on you, which has happened with some things. Behind, there are also popsicle sticks. And then we have the best part of Dollar Tree, in my opinion, the craft aisle.
They also have pieces of wood.
They do, yeah. So we have little mixing palettes here, which if you're on a budget, that can be a good way instead of buying the slightly more expensive ones. They also have like picks. These are used for people who do like vinyl cutting. You can use that, as well as those there.
Oh, it's a little exact.
Yeah, those are dangerous because that thing will just drop the blade. I don't recommend that thing.
Yeah, and the handle's very skinny too.
I've tried that one before. They also have tiny little bottles. I like using these for holding masking fluid or for holding a little bit of table salt. They have nice little glass dropper bottles. Get some of those for myself. They also have like finger protectors if you're working with hot glue. These are really good so you can mush the glue in without burning yourself. They have craft scrapers.
Also have some.
Oh yeah, they've got like rhinestones and glitter. The cutting wheels are kind of hit or miss, I've found. Their little clamps aren't bad. I'm looking to see if I can find bulldog clips here.
You should be able to in the school supply.
But oh, look at this now. They sell pool noodle knives because Pool Noodle Crafts is like a whole entire thing. Here are those little clips right there.
Yeah.
Oh, and then these kind of containers.
Yeah.
These are great for organizing little things. And then the craft twine, I like packaging my, like when people order stuff from my store, I like packaging
and they also
with
have
that.
regular twine right there.
Yeah, the like heavier duty twine. that $1.25 has really resulted in an upgrade. And then I love these for teaching because this is a pack of 6. I can put a dot of paint in each, and they can pour the water when they get there and reactivate it. Oh yeah, thanks. That is good for picking up masking fluid, but it's also good for picking up rubber cement, things like that.
Have you ever tried out
their adhesive dots? No, and I like those kind of things because I do paper crafts. Also, they have double-sided tape in a big roll here. I don't know if that's good, but they sell Scotch double-sided tape sometimes, and that's pretty helpful.
Look at the elastic band.
Honestly, they've got like a lot of really cool studio art supply staples that you just wouldn't necessarily think about when you think about Dollar Tree. Also have rolls of brown craft paper, so this can be useful both as to protect like your surface that you're working on, or as like sketch paper, or to cover books that get a lot of use and you want to protect the covers. If you're curious about Dollar Tree art supplies and stationery, I've talked about them many times, so that's not really what today is about. I really wanted to showcase that you can find good, inexpensive studio supplies at Dollar Tree. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Art doesn't have to be something that's inaccessible. So something newish that they've got, these are melamine trays. Not only could you use them as trays to organize stuff, but you could use it as a watercolor palette because it's going to be non-absorbent. It may stain them, but you're going to have plenty of space to mix color. Next to it, they've got clipboards. Clipboards can be a great way to do in the field sketching. And then we have a ton of really cute little organizers for your pencils. Yeah, I like the big ones. Do they have any? Yeah, the big ones, the really big ones if they got it.
I don't know if they have the really big ones.
So I like to use
also come in this
the
color.
Clips for when I'm stretching watercolors, just to kind of help hold it down. I'll also use bulldog clips. And of course, these little things are just always helpful because we've always got like a million little things that we need to get up and put away. I basically tear through sticky notes, so obviously I usually get them from like Dollar Tree. And then they've got these, what they call foam mounting dots. These are useful for kind of spacing out your art if you're doing like 3D-ish art and you want to create a sense of depth. So my mom just pointed out that they have magnifying sheets. So if you do miniatures or you paint miniature things, let me know if this would be helpful for you. I feel like I would be going half blind using that because my eyes would start to cross.
Like counted cross stitch.
Yeah, anything super
the
tiny.
Diagrams are so small that people could use these over them.
Yeah, to enlarge them. Yeah. People use them to read like the newspaper too.
Yeah.
And then not all your scissors have to be the world's best scissors. If you're just looking for some beater scissors for like cutting adhesive, cutting stuff that you know is gonna wreck scissors, you might as well just get them at Dollar Tree and save your nice pair. So if you do watercolor, you're gonna want a way to wash your watercolor brushes. And while I do generally recommend a specific kind of soap for that, if you're on a budget, a glycerin soap like this, unscented, can make a good option. You just want to avoid something like Olay that has oils in it.
Pierce soap, that is an excellent price because you can see Pierce soap in other catalogs.
Yeah,
like online catalogs.
I think Ulta sells it as well.
It's like $4, almost $4.
And this, if you're just using it to clean watercolor brushes, that'll last forever. Also helpful for cleaning your brushes are the makeup cleaning mitts, mostly because it's got this little bit of scrubber here, which can be helpful. You don't want to use the really small ones because it can tangle the longer hairs in a watercolor brush, but if you've got like some gouache in there that's kind of started to dry, that can be useful to help remove it. BB shampoo, especially the unscented kind, can also be helpful for cleaning your watercolor brushes because it's really gentle, so it'll clean them, but it's not going to ruin the bristles themselves. Now, while I think the 99% isopropyl can be more helpful, the 70% can be really good for cleaning up alcohol ink messes, alcohol marker messes, and acrylics because they're all going to be solvent with the alcohol. It can also be helpful in cleaning your electronics. Next to it are the cotton pads. those could be used in conjunction with the isopropyl alcohol to help clean up your electronics. While everyone needs snacks, I'm gonna skip food for the time being, because the ceramics aisle can be really helpful for finding studio supplies. So we are looking for the white ceramics. These can be really useful as watercolor palettes. You guys have probably seen me use them. They come in different sizes. The square actually works really well on my table because the circle just takes up a lot more space than you would kind of expect. And then if you're also mixing up, like, let's say printmaking ink, or you're mixing up acrylic paint and you need to mix a lot of it, but you don't want it to go to waste, they have all these tiny containers that are helpful for that. If you happen to live in a particularly humid area, you're going to want some humidity control, especially with your expensive papers.
Oh, they moved all this
You
over
can
here.
use these. In fact, when I was moving from Norco to Destrehan and our stuff was just kind of sitting in limbo for a while during a hurricane, these were really helpful in protecting the things that we couldn't evacuate with. They're like $1.25 if you're having problems with mold, if you're having problems with your watercolors never drying, if you're having problems with the paper curling all over the place or growing mold. This can be really helpful.
And these are the ones with charcoal in them.
Oh, that's right. I wasn't sure if they were scented or not.
They're charcoal. They had charcoal in them.
And then down here, they have spray bottles, which watercolor artists will tell you, these are really, really helpful to have. And they come in some really pretty colors too. I like to use a blue spray bottle to denote that it has water in it. And then you could use a spray bottle in a different color to denote that it has alcohol, like rubbing alcohol in it. Going back to organization, look at this. All these little containers to help you organize your stuff. You've got these,
If this came
which
with a little
stack.
broom, I would have this in my bath.
So these can be great for all those little bitty art supplies, like tubes of watercolor, holding your tape, that sort of thing. They also have these, which will fit in your drawers. Same as these. These are a little bit longer. I'm telling you guys, when you have like a million little bitty art supplies, having the organization for them can be really helpful. That's my big problem, is I can never settle on an organization scheme. Actually, have these, use these like these. They will fit in a drawer. I also like that you can treat them as like project trays. So some of the larger ones, and put all the art supplies, or not all, but a lot of the art supplies you might need for that project, the markers, the watercolors, the brushes, into the project tray to help you stay kind of organized. And then they also have, while these are for cutlery, they work great for watercolor brushes. They work great for pens and pencils. So don't sleep on Dollar Tree. I have to say, I was legit surprised by how much Dollar Tree had. Part of it is this Dollar Tree got hit bad by Ida, so it's basically like an all new Dollar Tree inside. But the other part is they've raised their prices to $1.25, and they have more stuff and it's better organized. So they're doing better, I guess. So there was a lot of like good studio staples that you could get here that would honestly be kind of an improvement on what you might get at an art supply store. On to our next budget studio supplies place. We're gonna check out Walmart. So Walmart is gonna have a lot of the same stuff that Dollar Tree has, but also they have 91% isopropyl, which is getting closer to the 99. But they also have things like finger cots, so if you paint with your hands, these could be helpful, as well as a variety of gloves, including nitrile gloves if you have like an allergy to latex. So I'm gonna call this a studio supply, but lots of us have wrecked our wrists. So these sort of wrist supports while you're sleeping can be really helpful in helping to protect your wrists. So not the sort of studio supply most people think of, but one that I recommend. I really like the padded ones, the sleep ones. I'm not seeing a sleep one here, but they also have kind of like just a little bit of extra support. And I don't see the compression gloves here, but the compression gloves can also be really helpful. Y'all know I'm a 90s kid, but we need places to put our art supplies, and These can be a really cute way to bring some of your art supplies with you in a fairly compact way. Plus it's caboodles, I mean, come on. But also like tackle boxes. Actually, tackle boxes make great studio organization, and we can talk about that in a little bit. Here is a fun example, one of these Plano tackle boxes, brightly colored, and it's got areas at the top. Not that I ever remember to use those. You can also lock it if you want to. This one has like a little locking peg in it, so unfortunately we can't look at the compartments, which it also has the little locking peg though. I wanted to be able to, well, the thing is this one comes with stuff in it, and we're not really looking for that, but you guys can kind of see, yeah, how a tackle box could be good. These are gonna be some empties. So see what I mean? How it's got like all these little trays, and these kind of fan out like this here. So you can actually get a lot of like paint tubes in there. Something else that's kind of neat is these little sections are removable. So it can also hold larger, small art supplies as well. I really like using like toolboxes and tackle boxes for my art supplies because they're just so ready-made for that, and it's a really easy studio organization thing. Another thing is that when you get them from the sporting section, it's usually cheaper than when you get it from the art supply section. So skipping sections just a little bit, these are drawer organizers. They're really made for cutlery, but I use these for my art supplies in my map drawers. So this could be a really good way to keep your art supplies organized in your drawers. They're clear, so you can actually see everything even towards the back. And it's still cheaper than getting it at an art supply store. Okay, so to the back, we see some large drawers. These, they're not my favorite, but if you're just starting, they're not my favorite because they tend to deform over time. But if you're starting out, these are a great way to store art supplies. But also if you work with larger format papers like 11 by 17, these larger ones are actually big enough to hold it and protect your paper. So one of the things is we spend a lot of money on our art supplies, including our papers, and we don't want them to get damaged, and they can get damaged really easily, whether you are piling stuff on top of it, or you have pets, or you live in a high humidity area, or you have a lot of dust in your environment. There's a lot of ways your expensive papers can get ruined, and even something like this, while not like the world's best solution, is going to go a long way to protecting your papers, making sure they don't get damaged, keeping them accessible to you, because if your paper is under like a huge stack of papers, you're not going to get to it. But if you have it organized into this, you could do like Bristol paper, sketchbooks, and watercolor paper, and that makes it so much more accessible. So like at Dollar Tree, we talked about if you're making art, you're going to want to protect your art. Walmart has a lot of good options, both attractive options, but also easy options for storing your art, and they also have stuff for larger sizes. So these sort of snap frames can be really good if you're like a convention artist or you like to quickly change out your art, because they friction fit. So instead of having to like remove the back and pry everything out, you can kind of remove it from the front. And what I also like is that they come in larger sizes, which can be challenging to frame and expensive to frame. And frankly, $6 versus $8, that is super affordable for these sort of larger frames. Now, of course, sometimes that happens. They do come in 11 by 17, which as a comic artist, I love, because 11 by 17 is one of our most common sizes. But I like that there's actually like a variety in the sizes, and it makes it accessible and affordable to be able to put the art you own up on your walls, whether it's yours or art that you bought from someone else. Also love that they have these larger format frames here at a much more affordable price than say like Michael's. So I would consider frames and decorating your artistic space a part of studio supplies as well as convention supplies, because if you have it up, you're more likely to feel inspired. Let's talk a little bit about studio lighting. Unless you're recording, you don't need to work on the surface of the sun, but it is helpful to work in natural light. or a bulb that can replicate natural light. And they do sell like warm yellow, cool blue, and also natural light bulbs over in the light bulb section. You can use those bulbs in, they have a variety of lamps. Some of them clamp on, some of them are standing, some of them are architect style lamps. But you can use this to light your space and to hopefully be able to accurately gauge colors. So this is why you don't want to work with like a warm yellow or a cool blue, is it's going to mess with the cones and rods in your eyes and make it more challenging for you to accurately gauge color. Now, I would recommend maybe not going with one of the soft diffused lightings because you're going to lose a lot of light that way. But you also don't necessarily want a really harsh spotlight on your art, because if you're casting shadows, it makes it a lot harder to see, say, faintly drawn pencil lines. So something like this that also has a diffuser on it can be really helpful. All right, so my mom found the toolboxes. These are another great way to store your art supplies, especially if you're traveling, whether you work with a lot of bigger things like you're a clay artist, or like me, you just have a hoard of art supplies, or you just need a little something. That's a great way to keep the bags, yeah.
Bag ones, the soft-sided ones, with the pockets on the side.
And no dividers on the inside, right? It's like
no.
just a open. Oh, there are dividers inside. Oh, that's nicer than I thought it would be. I don't know what I was expecting, but not that.
Around the top.
Yeah, so it actually, once it's got stuff in it, it will hold its structure pretty well.
And then it comes, they also have
a smaller version of that.
That doesn't have the structure that that one has.
But what's nice about those is if you're traveling, they can break down in your suitcase.
You also have.
I love things like that. So this is a pocket apron, and that can be great for a plein air painter because you tie it around your waist and you can put your brushes in that. That's really neat. I was actually thinking about getting something similar to that, but I was probably going to sew one. Those are the kind I also really like. That's heavier duty than and then unclip the sides. Yeah, this is a little heavier duty than what I normally use, but I like these for the fact that they have these like interchangeable dividers. So whether you're like a bead artist who needs really tiny spaces, or you want to make room for pencils, you've got plenty of options there. Okay, they've got the 3M blue painter's tape. This is the tape that I use for all my watercolor paintings. This is not it, but I like about this width. This is actually 2 tape rolls here, and it is a crepe paper tape. You guys see me use it like all the time. I don't do the clean release. I don't do any of the like other specialty stuff. It is literally this one. Okay, real quick, this matte finish stuff, this stuff is great. So it basically puts a fresh, Krylon. It puts a fresh coat on top of your art, protects the art underneath, and you can actually keep working. If it's like pencil, that sort of thing, graphite, you can keep working it. So I used a lot of that in undergrad. All right, trash cans are an important part of keeping your studio clean. So I happen to like the little metal like step cans, like that one there. They also, I thought they had a plastic one here, and then they have the little bins here. But you might not think about it, but trash cans, maybe I should upgrade to a bigger one since I generate a lot of trash. But gotta keep your space clean, especially when you don't have a lot of space to work with. So while I would recommend you check Consumer Reports for the best dehumidifier, they do have even little dehumidifiers here, which if you work in watercolor or acrylic and you want it to dry faster, that can be very helpful. Also though, just airflow can be helpful in getting your, maybe I need one of these little things here and just hold it over my watercolor paintings while I'm working. Talking about recording supplies again, they have a gooseneck clamp with a small ring light. They have it's like almost like a pistol grip little tripod thing here, as well as some additional lighting. Of course, they have a lot of interesting stuff. They've like revamped this section. Like they've got a little light box like this. Am I recommending these things? No, not specifically. They've got, see, it doesn't come with the little microphone or the little LED bar, but they do have the little microphone kit. loads of different tripods if you want to try recording your art. LED mini lights. I think I've reviewed those for you guys before. Ring lights. So there's a lot of different ways you can kind of cobble together, if you were an artist who wants to do recording, there's a lot of different ways you can kind of cobble together a recording situation. So the art supply section is a pretty obvious pick for studio supplies, and they do have some good ones. I'm not gonna like pretend like they don't. Like for holding all your papers, or I don't see any of the big bulldog clips either, but also for your scissors if you don't want to pay an arm and a leg. No, I don't see them.
Yeah, right here.
Oh, you found them? No, those are binder clips, but yeah, the larger size binder clips. No, bulldog clips are like artist style clips. Oh man, okay. So if you're a convention artist and you like to draw on the go, these are great because they are self-contained. You can keep the paper in there, your markers, your drawing supplies, everything is kind of tucked away and handy. I really like those. I lived with one of those in my hand all the time in high school. Oh, and then double stick tape can be really helpful for our paper crafter artists. Okay, so if you're making art and you're not ready to put it up and it's 11 by 8.5, binders and page protectors can be a good way to keep your art protected while you're either waiting to sell it or you're waiting to put it up. Here's some, no, those are dividers, I'm sorry, but they do have page protectors somewhere in this section, I'm sure. And that can be really helpful for just kind of protecting your stuff, because even though you might think it looks kind of tacky, and I can understand that, it's better to have it protected, especially if it's like not in a sketchbook, but it's just kind of loose, than it is to just have it kind of loose. This is the art supply aisle. You guys have seen me talk about this specific art supply aisle so many times, so I'm not going to today. They do, however, have workable fixative, which, you know, honestly, I find the spray fixative that I showed you guys earlier to just be a little bit more helpful than the workable fixative, because what they mean by workable is not that you can erase, but rather that you can continue to work on top of it. Basically, it puts a tooth on your paper surface so you can continue putting graphite or color pencil, which is really helpful, but you can't, if you mess up, you can't rework it. And then they do have Cricut supplies. Not sure how that compares with Michael's. Michael's tends to run kind of expensive. I'm going to talk about one more thing in the supplies for Walmart. We didn't go to like the plates section, but it's your mileage may vary. But paper towels, these, in fact, I'm picking some up for myself today. These are the kind that I like best. They are really durable. They don't have a texture to them. They can take a lot of water. If you let them dry out, you can keep using them. They're good for stretching watercolor pages. They're good for just general cleanup. They're kind of expensive for what they are, which is why I don't use them as my kitchen paper towels. But for painting, especially stretching watercolor paper, these are great. You want to get, I like the signature cloth ones, and you want to get it with no printing, nothing like that, because the dye in that might transfer, don't know if it will, to your watercolor pages. So that was Walmart's studio supplies. Your mileage may vary, your Walmart may have more. I was kind of surprised that this Walmart didn't have as much as the Dollar Tree did, but then that Dollar Tree has always had a pretty good craft section. So, but there's still a lot of good studio staples, things that are useful, especially those larger things that you might not think about, as well as the blue masking tape that you can get at Walmart. All right, wrapping up our cheap studio supplies on a budget, we're going to hit 5Below. It's like the trifecta. If we had a Daiso, I would hit Daiso, or if we had a Pop Shelf, I would hit Pop Shelf, but we don't. So it's on to 5Below. If you are an artist who works on the floor, you may find sitting on a yoga mat to be beneficial, although these are kind of thin. If you're looking for some studio storage,
look at these clear ones.
They've got some pretty cute ones actually in a variety of sizes and styles, including the larger ones down there. So I have talked about their regular art supplies a bunch of times. I will, like with the others, link those. Not seeing necessarily any studio staples right here though. But look, here are the mini easels from Dollar Tree. They're in more colors here, but they don't say how much they cost.
$5.
Are they $5? Are they labeled as $5?
Look up there at the top.
I know, but just because I've been bamboozled by that before. Because if this is a 5 and up,
This is
there's
all 5.
see this. Oh, this is what I wanted to show you guys. Anyway, this I actually think is kind of neat. This is an adjustable artboard, so it's got notches where you can lift the easel up depending on what angle is comfortable for you. It also has a pencil board, so if you are working in like your old bedroom or something like that, this could be a really good option for that. Yeah, it is a very lightweight wood though, but for $5, not bad. So if you guys are curious, I have done a very similar set on a craft stream one time and we weren't particularly impressed, but what this seems to be is more of like an all-in set. So the colors and the liners and the highlight pen might be interesting to check out. But yeah, they're kind of picked over today. This is kind of lean, but I think that's probably a little high for tape, so I really wouldn't recommend coming here for that kind of a studio staple. But they do have the blue tape. I wonder how long they're gonna actually carry the blue tape. But yeah, here's school supply section. Pretty lean this time. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I would not recommend getting your watercolor brushes, your acrylic brushes. Don't really care for their brushes, so I would recommend you just skip them here. All right, more studio organization. These are in the makeup aisle, but they've got mini drawers of all sorts, as well as little makeup boxes that, similar to tackle boxes, can be a great way to store your art supplies on the go. This little clear one is particularly cute because you can actually see what you have in it. When we're talking about studio supplies, we always need things like spray bottles, mini containers. So down here, they've got some mini resealable pots. We've got spray bottles of all sorts. We have toothbrush holders, which could be useful for brush holders if you're traveling. Soap containers, I'm sure those can be repurposed in a few different ways. Little squirt bottles look like the silicone kind, which could be useful for holding paint or glycerin or gum arabic. And then, I'm not seeing it, baby shampoo. If you need to clean your brushes, a mild baby shampoo can be a great way to clean some of the pigments out of your brushes. On the other side, they have different pads for cleaning your makeup brushes. These can also be somewhat helpful for cleaning your acrylic brushes and making sure you get the acrylic out of the bristles. So much like with Walmart, having a way to display your art can be really important, or a way to make your studio space or your workspace feel more inspiring, or just kind of like a space you actually want to create in. So they've got some cute little things that can maybe help you make your studio space a space you want to spend time in. Now the fridge caddy might be helpful to put over, say, a small table, and that'll give you some storage pockets for supplies. Much like the one we saw at Walmart, they have a small photo studio box, so that could be useful for taking photos of your products. They also have a folding reflector if you want to deflect or reflect some of the light away. And then again, like Walmart, we have like the small vlogging kits, the mini ring lights, the clip-on microphones, even this thing here, which I tried at one point and I couldn't get it to work, but maybe you can. All right, so that was it for 5Below. This time they didn't really have a whole lot in terms of supplies. Sometimes they have more, and I think your mileage will vary because some stores have a different selection than others, and then some of them have the 5 Beyond section that has tech and other neat things. So let me know what your favorite studio supply from 5Below is. Okay, so earlier I mentioned how different Dollar Trees, different 5Belows will have different things. This is something I've never seen at a Dollar Tree before. These are water brushes. So $1.25 for two is a really good price. They also have pom-pom makers, which the other one I went to did not have, in 2 sizes. And they have more both resin tools as well as like paper craft tools. And then my old favorites, actually I need to pick some of these up today, the masking fluid pickups. And then since we were talking about studio supplies, they also have oversleeves. You put these over your sleeves, obviously, as well as aprons. And they have a lot of wood supplies as well, if that's something you're interested in. But the focus today is studio supply. Okay, y'all, I'm going to try to give 5Below some art supply or studio supply redemption. We're trying a totally different 5Below to see if they've got some better inexpensive studio supplies. They got big sketchbooks today.
Look at this. This is
Not that, I meant this.
paper.
Oh no, it's toned.
What is that? What kind
I
of
don't
paper
know.
is that?
Meets government U.S. standards for recycled
What does
sheet.
that mean?
So if you work on the floor, we've talked about this before, but this could be a very affordable way to comfortably work on the floor without busting your butt. Alright, so if you're looking to clean your watercolor brushes, you could use these as maybe like scrubbing mats. Alright, we are in the sample section. So I think we talked about toothbrush holders as being brush holders, like watercolor brush holders. Squeezy bottles being helpful for like holding glycerin or holding, they're not the silicone ones, they just kind of look like it.
Yeah.
And spray bottles for like spray water techniques. You could also maybe use this to hold small supplies like tubes of watercolor paint or gouache, or like maybe even make like a compact watercolor kit out of something like that. This 5Below has a 5 Beyond section, so I guess if you need a chair, yeah, this might work. Or if you need, they call it an accent table. I would not even, calling it a table is generous, but if you like need a shelf for your stuff, that might work. Got the moon shelf over there as well as like a framing kit, so multiple frames. Oh, that's definitely studio supplies. Is I don't think I would trust anything I got from 5Below in the shower with my phone. It just doesn't seem like a good combo. So if you want to record your art, I feel like we've talked about this before, but just to catch back up, these kind of little tripods can be helpful. Yeah, that's to attach your phone to like your laptop.
Stuck to each other.
Well, yeah, they're magnetic.
Oh, you're not kidding.
I have done the backdrop kits, and those are terrible. I've talked about them on the channel before, so I'm not going to go into that today. These kind of little cord dots can be really helpful for cable management, so I'll call that, you know, studio supplies. If you record using your phone and your phone no longer has a headphone jack, they do have Type-C to auxiliary cables, so you could plug in your lavalier mic or a micro cable. This is the art supplies section. So I think we talked about this before, but I've been to Dollar Tree since, and everything is like $1.25. But you can get like a 6-pack of these little sixlets here for $1.25. So it's still cheaper though than getting it from like Michael's, which tends to be overpriced. But I feel like they have even fewer studio staples than the other 5Below. I was hoping for some redemption. They do have a drawing board though. $5 for a board that size isn't bad. I remember them being more expensive than that like 10 years ago. They still have the easels, and I'm just not really seeing much else. This might have been a wasted trip to 5Below. Oh. They've got these stacked up. So these are like desk organizers, but Obviously, they can be useful for drawing supplies as well, or organizing your desk. All right, no redemption for 5Below. This one did not have much more, if anything, than the other one. Obviously, the internet can be a good resource for affordable studio supplies. So I'm going to talk about AliExpress and Amazon today. There are other options as well. These are just the ones that I'm the most familiar with. And really, we're talking about budget. We're not talking about like what's the best, but you know, good enough. So I'm going to break my rule just a little bit and talk about brushes just a bit. They are a studio supply. They are also, you know, an art supply. So they kind of fall in between. So recently, I started testing out Art Secret watercolor brushes, and I really like them. So this is a brand that a lot of other companies will white label from, and what that means is they'll buy the brushes and then screen their own brand name on them. And this is pretty common, especially if you're looking at like Amazon brushes. But they have some really affordable, inexpensive little sets that perform way better than they have any right to. And I took a look at, it was a smaller version of this set here, but it was like under the Diane W label, and I really liked them. They were good little quills. So I know this is kind of like, you know, smearing the line a little bit, but Art Secret brushes are pretty dang good. Also, things like this, I talk all the time about having a drafting brush. I mean, to be fair, you're not really saving a lot of money getting this one, but this is an option. You can also find palettes on AliExpress. Almost misspoke there. And we're going to talk about that just a little bit more. But typically, when I'm buying on AliExpress, I stick to the actual shop name, the manufacturer. So like the official store. This is one of the ones that I've bought from before and I've had good experiences with. I don't have the name of it off the top of my head, but we'll look up Paul Rubens and we should be able to find it from here. So if you, when it comes to AliExpress, if you stick with brands you're familiar with or brands that people you trust have recommended and shops that they've recommended, and I try to link them for you. Like here we see the Paul Rubens official store, for example. And I know that isn't like a 100% guarantee. I try to stick with shops that I've purchased from before. I haven't gotten burnt yet. I haven't felt like I've gotten, you know, a bunch of knockoff stuff or anything like that. And I'm like slowly kind of expanding out, but for the most part, I stick with shops I'm familiar with. So for another example, these sort of airtight palettes, I think the Paul Rubens ones might be a little less expensive than the Magello ones, but fairly comparable quality. You can also get artist tape here, although that's not particularly an inexpensive price, especially if we're talking about the 3M Blue Painter's tape as our masking tape. But you can find all kinds of watercolor supplies on AliExpress. So let's look up watercolor palette. Now, I would not necessarily recommend you get like your ceramic stuff from here necessarily, because you can find it so much cheaper at like Dollar Tree. But like these kind of mini palettes here, the laser cut acrylic ones, this might be, honestly, this is going to be cheaper than if you get it on Amazon or if you get it on Etsy. I've been seeing these on Etsy and they all look the same. You might as well just get them from the source. You also have some cute little plein air palettes like this. So not everything, I mean, this isn't a bad deal either for like multiples of these sort of individual weld ceramic palettes. These can be kind of expensive out in the wild. So if you just kind of like shop savvily and you do your reviews and you just kind of pay attention to what things cost on other sites, you can find some pretty good deals on sites like AliExpress. And like I mentioned earlier, so this is like an airtight palette, right? You can, this one is designed for half pans. You can, $5.76 is a pretty dang good deal for it. It has a silicone gasket. We're gonna click it. It has a silicone gasket up at the top that helps kind of seal it. So this could be good if you prefer for your watercolors to stay wet when you're painting, or if you like to work with gouache, this could be a really good option. Also, things like half pans, you can buy them in bulk here or over on Amazon. And what I like to do when I'm on AliExpress is if I see stuff at a shop that I like, I'll go ahead and click through and visit the store and see if there's other stuff that I like. I know this sounds super duh. I just don't understand why more people don't, if they're looking for affordable art supplies, why they don't see what AliExpress has to offer. But so they have all kinds of different things here. Some of these I would be maybe cautious about if it seems too good to be true and it's a brand name and it's not from that manufacturer. It might not be worth the risk. So just kind of try to be fairly smart and savvy about it, and it shouldn't get burnt too badly. Also things like brush rests. Now you can use chopstick rests as brush rests if you want. They don't have to be specifically brush rests, but you can find some really cute brush rests or some pretty looking brush rests. These are actually soap holders, and they've just been a different color. They're usually clear. You can find these pretty cheaply. You can see they have some really pretty brush rests here. So I'm gonna get so tired of saying that word. But you have a lot of options. So if you're into like aesthetic art supplies, if you want your art supplies to be cute, you can definitely find some really nice options here. And often these are just being resold at a markup elsewhere. So not saying always, but often. So I think it kind of pays to check AliExpress and see what they have to offer when it comes to buying like studio supplies or even art supplies. Now, living in Louisiana, I don't necessarily have the best options when it comes to, or the biggest variety, I should say, when it comes to like art books, art supplies. You know, I have a couple of local stores, and then we've got like Michael's and Hobby Lobby. So I do a lot of my art supply shopping and restocking on Amazon, and it's a particularly good resource for like art reference books. You guys can see some of the ones I've been looking at recently here. You can also find tech, obviously. Is it necessarily the best price? Not necessarily, but if you don't have other options, like scrapbooking stores can be a great place to find things that you can kind of co-op into your art depending on what kind of art you like to do or what you want to make. Amazon might be your option. And then I'm always a big fan of like battery backups because I do shows and it's important to have like, you know, a charged phone when you're running transactions. Now, historically, Amazon is not the best prices for art supplies or studio supplies, at least like things marketed towards artists. They do tend to be a little bit more expensive. So I would recommend checking Cheap Joe's, Blick, and Jerry's Artorama. Those tend to be really competitive when it comes to pricing. So you guys can see how expensive some of these things can be on Amazon. And then, okay, so we have like the brand name and then we have the knockoff. And they look pretty much the same. The name is different. Meaden is definitely replicating the Stephen Quiller for like a third of the price. So, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money. But things like this, like these kind of divided ceramic porcelain trays, you can find these at Asian markets, typically sold for like food. Same goes for these sort of things, and usually at a much cheaper price point than what you would find on Amazon. So I'm talking about Amazon because it's one of the ones that I end up relying on a lot. I think a lot of people end up relying on it. Man, haven't we seen these around as like the aesthetic art palettes that a lot of the art influencers have? Woo! I don't know about that, y'all. I mean, if I was buying it from the person making it, maybe, but I don't know about that. But anyway, Amazon is often not really the best or the most affordable resource. Things like this from Meaden can be a good price or a fair price, but typically you're going to find better prices for these sort of studio essentials over on like Dick Blick or Jerry's. So I hope that our adventures today were helpful, useful, and informative for you guys. I want you guys to keep in mind that different Dollar Trees can vary. Some are better than others. Different Walmarts can vary. Some are better than others. And different 5Belows can vary. Some are better than others depending on what you're looking for. So your mileage may vary, and it may be worth asking around in your area to find out if they have these things. Now, you can have things shipped to your Dollar Tree and to your Walmart. Not sure about your 5Below, so if you do want to order online and just go pick it up, they can handle that for you guys. I was gonna say finesse that for you guys. So don't give up hope. And if you have any suggestions on anything that I've snoozed or missed on, or if you do like printmaking and you've got printmaking suggestions from these sites, or if you do acrylic or oil painting and you have studio supply suggestions from these places, please let me know down in the comments below. I want to get back into printmaking, and getting to play around with it in an accessible and affordable way would be a great way to start getting back into it. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's field trip. I sure did, and I would really appreciate it if you are new here and you have not yet, if you would subscribe and click the bell notification and let YouTube know that you want to see more art-related content from me. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope I helped you save some money on your studio supplies today. Have a wonderful day, guys. Bye!